Well, good afternoon and thanks for joining us for THV 11 News at noon. I'm Jurnee Taylor. We saw a downpour here in downtown Little Rock just a little bit ago, so we start with meteorologist Nathan Scott for a check of the radar. Hi there, Nathan.
Good afternoon, Jurnee. It has been a changeable day as expected. We start off the day with sun, and then we had that line of showers and thunderstorms roll its way through. It brought down the numbers, temperatures quite a bit as well. But here's a look at the radar loop. The worst of the rain is now exiting the metro, but look out below into south and southeast Arkansas because the weather is about to go downhill very quickly. You see the heavy rain with lightning and thunder developing in Arkansas County, Jefferson County, approaching Pine Bluff, and it will make its way into Camden, also Hampton, Monticello. All of you can expect a good chance of a good soaking rain. The severe wet threat very low, but there still could be maybe a storm that tries to produce some gusty winds. Look at the temperature range though. 93 in Monticello, 72 in Russellville, 74 in Little Rock, and it's even worse when you look at the feels like temperature. It feels like 110 right now in Monticello, feels like 107 in Camden. So we have the heat advisory in effect for South Arkansas until that line makes its way through. Temperatures today primarily will stay into the 80s for most of us, but the heat, it's going to be returning. And could we reach 100 degrees going into the weekend? I'll have more on that answer coming up.
All right, Nathan, thank you. New information now. Little Rock police are investigating an overnight homicide. Officers were called to the 5700 block of Liberty Cove just before 11:30 last night. They found a man dead from gunshot wounds. There's no information yet about the victim's identity or any possible suspects. If you know anything, you're asked to call the LRPD homicide unit. Police in Fort Smith need your help to find a Pine Bluff man they say should be considered armed and dangerous. Police say Keno Johnson shot someone last Friday in Fort Smith. They say he's likely driving this maroon 2013 Chevy Silverado. Again, they say he should be considered armed and extremely dangerous, and because of his Pine Bluff connection, we're spreading the word here in Central Arkansas. If you know anything, call police. The man accused of killing 4 people and injuring 10 others at a Fordyce grocery store last week made his first court appearance. Cameras were not allowed in the courtroom, but THV 11 was there as 44-year-old Travis Posey formally pleaded not guilty, and the judge ordered he get no bond. Posey is charged with 4 counts of capital murder and 10 counts of attempted capital murder. Prosecutors have not ruled out seeking the death penalty. Life without parole is also a possibility. Now, as the victims and community members impacted by this shooting recover, local leaders are doing their best to be there for their neighbors. The Dallas County Sheriff sat down with THV 11 saying no town ever wants to go through something like this, but he's proud of their response.
4 minutes and 40 seconds into the first 911 call, the suspect was down. And it doesn't get much better than that. This will not define us, and it will not divide us.
The sheriff has set up an account for public donations at Fordyce Bank and Trust, which has promised to pay for the funerals of all 4 victims. The Mad Butcher grocery store is the only place people can buy fresh produce in the town, but there's no official timeline on when the store could reopen. Meanwhile, today the Fordyce School District is handing out food to anyone in need in the community. They are calling it the Because We Care giveaway. It's happening now at the Fordyce High School cafeteria till 4 p.m. President Biden is offering pardons to U.S. veterans who were convicted of crimes under a military law that banned same-sex relationships. CBS Chief Investigative Correspondent Jim Axelrod has been on this story from the start and brings you the latest.
As my sexual identity blossomed, I battled with how to live the covert double life that was required of LGBTQ military members at that time.
Steve Morose was an Air Force officer in the late 1980s before the military found out he was gay and put him on trial.
You were looking at 17 years in prison.
I was 5 years per sodomy charge and a year per conduct unbecoming charge.
He was sentenced to 2 years in a military prison.
I thought my military life was over, but in that moment I thought my life was over.
Last year when we spoke, he was still hoping for the day when the government would make things right.
They have the ability to look back and say, People who are hanging under the weight of something that is no longer valid should be made whole.
And today, word of that long-awaited redemption arrived. President Biden announced former service members who were convicted of crimes solely for being gay could apply for pardons, clearing their records and potentially having VA benefits restored.
It is, for many, a lifetime that they have been carrying this.
Jocelyn Larkin is representing a group of LGBTQ veterans suing the Pentagon.
It's a wonderful step forward, but there's so much more work to be done. But we welcome any recognition of the injustice that this group of people has been experiencing.
For Steve Morose, it's recognition that is decades past due.
What could be bigger than restoring someone's humanity? A sense of justice to somebody's life.
Especially if you're that person, nothing.
Steve Morose tells us he hasn't been contacted by anyone yet, but that he is ecstatic to hear the news. The pardons are not automatic. Veterans will have to apply to prove they are eligible. Once they receive that certificate of pardon, they can go to their military branch and apply to have their discharge characterization changed, which the White House says should unlock access to critical VA benefits down the road. The White House could not say how long that process would take or exactly how many service members this will affect. Jim Axelrod, CBS News, New York.
THV 11 is your election central, and the first presidential debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump will be aired right here on THV 11. So set a reminder and have your TV set to watch the debate Thursday night at 8 o'clock. Then directly following that, we will have extended post-debate coverage, including live fact-checking of the candidates' claims. We will also bring you a local news and weather update in between. Again, that's tomorrow night on THV 11. Former President Trump surprised some members of his own party this month when he proposed exempting tips from being taxed. Some have questioned whether that's even possible. Casey Decker with our Verified National team dug into it.
Some Trump supporters are taking a unique new approach to promoting the former president's 2024 campaign. When they go out to eat, they're writing, "Vote Trump to keep all of your tips." This inspired by one of Trump's latest campaign promises, exempting tips from taxes.
When I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, and we're going to do that right away, first thing in office.
Trump hasn't said how he plans to do that, but some people have claimed the president doesn't even have that power. So let's verify. Can the president exempt tips from taxes? Our sources are the Internal Revenue Code, the IRS, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, Senator Ted Cruz, and Congressman Matt Gaetz. Federal law classifies tips as wages and wages as taxable income. Employees are required to report their tips and pay income taxes on them, and employers have to pay payroll taxes on them. The president has some powers to change how laws are interpreted or enforced, but given how explicit the law is here, any attempts to exempt tips by executive order alone would almost certainly be blocked by the courts. There are only two ways to actually change federal law. One is for the courts to strike down the law as unconstitutional, which won't happen here since this law has been on the books for decades. The other is for Congress to pass a new law. Some of Trump's Republican allies in Congress have already proposed legislation to exempt tips from taxes. Texas Senator Ted Cruz introduced a bill that would allow you to deduct any tips you earn from federal income tax. And Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz introduced a bill that would essentially remove tips from the federal tax code completely, meaning they wouldn't even have to be reported to the IRS. Both bills are brand new, so neither has yet been thoroughly debated. But one nonprofit group, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, has already warned proposals like these could cost tens of billions of dollars a year and encourage businesses of all kinds to change their fee structures in order to take advantage of the exemption. So, can the president exempt tips from taxes? The answer needs context. He can't do it by himself, but he can encourage Congress to pass a law for him to sign. And even if that happens, tips could still be taxed at the state or local level. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
It's one of the biggest online retailers offering shoppers massive deals and quick delivery. But now, the Arkansas Attorney General says Temu has gone too far. More on that next.
And the worst of the showers and thunderstorms are moving out of the metro, but down into South Arkansas, get ready because you've got some loud thunder and lightning headed in your direction along with that heavy rain. I'll have a live look at radar coming up.